What's up, y'all? Thanks so much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah, and let's recap and review Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. This is season 14, episode 16. And what I'm going to say is, Sutton, girl, you got to stand up for real, for real. Like, you got to stand all the way up. I mm, no, ma'am. But let's get into the video. So y'all know sometimes before we get into the review, we get a little spicy just a little bit, okay? And I just got a few things to talk to y'all about. So first up, let's talk about Bose's interview with Bravo Insider, more specifically Bravo's Hot Mic. So she basically said she believes that Kyle is a liar. So let me play the clip of her saying that.
Know if Kyle knew that I thought she was a liar, or that I think she is a liar. Let me make that correct. You know, it's like, girl, that girl was lying. So I don't know if she knows that I thought that, but
she does now.
She does now.
Yeah.
And what does she think now about that? You know, because I believe she believes that she was in the right.
So Bose thinks Kyle is a liar, which I don't think she's wrong for feeling that way. If you think about it, the last two seasons have not been very favorable for Kyle. We had her and Kathy being at odds, and a lot of people wondering, like, was it just the whole Lisa Rinna thing, or did something else happen between them? Because Kim got involved and basically told Kyle, girl, make it right, or you not coming to my daughter's wedding. And she made it right. You have now, season 13, we had the whole, separation situation with her and Mauricio, but she hasn't been very forthcoming in telling us, why they are getting separated. And then the introduction of Morgan, and are you a lesbian? Are you a closeted bisexual? Like, what's going on? So I definitely can see Bose being like, I'm trying to get to know you. I already feel like you're cold towards me, and the things that I see are a contradiction. But I would think that Kyle probably doesn't feel as she is a liar, because when she does interviews or if she's on Amazon Live, I think she feels like she is telling the truth. I think when she says she doesn't really know about how she feels about certain situations, and I don't care what it looks like, but this is what my relationship is with Morgan, I think she does feel like she's telling the truth. Like, I think she feels like her word salad and her talking in circles is her telling the truth. But continuing with this interview, Bose also talked about Sutton. So the interviewer asked her about the big wallet comment, and Bose pretty much said this: Bose St. James takes aim at Sutton Strack. She didn't make that money herself, so we should actually be talking to her husband. So I don't have the audio for that, but I do have a article that I want to read for you guys, and I'll just read that excerpt that she spoke about Sutton, and I'll put the link in the description box below if you would like to read it for yourself. So Bose's part of the interview starts off like this, and this is where the article begins about the Sutton piece. It says, following filming season 14, Bose admits to being equally confused by Sutton's behavior. I still don't understand why Sutton gets so upset about things she shared. I'm very surprised at the Sutton who showed up in our conversations and in this season. I am shocked by it because she is not the person I anticipated. She goes on to say, Sutton got an opinion. She's sharp, she's witty, she's a good friend. Will show up for those who need her and want her in their lives. And so to see her pull experiences and then turn them on people, or to be really mean, I just didn't anticipate that Sutton would be so mean. Bose continues. So I don't know who this version of this person is and whether or not she is trustworthy from now on out. I feel like she's one of those people I will watch my back with. Looking back on Sutton's wallet diss against Dorit, Bose pointed out that there will always be somebody richer and somebody skinnier before shading Sutton's finances. She says there's no way she would be picking up on anybody's wallet. She did not make that money herself, so we should be talking to her man. You want to talk about wallet size? Show me the money you make, and then we'll see who wins. So if you want to read the rest of the article, because there definitely is more where she talks about Dorit and Erica and being shocked by Erica's behavior towards Garcelle's kids, as well as her concerning feelings for Dorit. The link is in the description box below. So here's my thoughts. I get what Bose is saying about Sutton's comment not landing for her because she's like, girl, I'm self-made. Like, if we really comparing wallets, let's see how much money you've made beyond your husband. But on the other hand, I'm like, that's her money. Like, she was with Christian since the beginning. She was in the field, had to forego a lot of things, got pregnant, took care of them kids that he probably wanted. So at the end, when the marriage is over, I'm going to get half. And I dare anybody to say that's not my money. And it also doesn't land for me when Bose says this type of stuff when you're friends with Erica, who has been bitter and angry about her life and the money that she lacks because she didn't leave that marriage before all of this like lawsuit happens. She's still mad that other people in this group are living the life that she once had. She's still angry that Sutton and Garcelle were leading the charge to ask her very pointed questions about what was going on in the press. On top of that, the way that she salivates anytime Jennifer Tilly comes into a room with some nice jewelry or a nice outfit or something lets you know she misses that life. So if she would have divorced that man, are you saying she shouldn't have got that money and she doesn't have a right to speak on that money? As well as your new best friend, Dorit, is hoping and praying that PK has money that she can use in the divorce. Because let's be honest, that man owes a lot of debt. And Dorit is still, I think I heard, allegedly, she's still getting sued by her ex business partner for Beverly Beach. So she need the money in the divorce. Because what does Dorit do? So, moving on, let's talk about Watch What Happens Live. Garcelle was on Watch What Happens Live, and she was asked several questions about how she felt about the episode. Now, the first clip I'm going to play for you guys is a viewer calling in, asking her how does she feel about Erica saying that she peaked. And then the second clip will be her responding to how she felt about this wallet comment Sutton made towards Dorit.
What was your reaction to Erica saying you might have peeps in the 90s when it comes to your dating life?
Erica.
Yeah.
That's my bestie.
That
was
not nice.
It wasn't.
Oh, you're good.
I will say,
Nice.
just looking
Yes.
at both sides of the equation,
Yes.
your 90s roster was impeccable.
I mean-
I just want to
I
say.
mean, I
so
was a
I mean,
young starlet.
I'm just saying,
And maybe I did peak.
I mean,
No.
okay.
No, listen, I married for love, not for money.
Okay.
So I live for this. And I think it's because I didn't expect Garcelle to say it. That's why I live for it. Because she was very much like, F her. And I was like, you know what? Yes, F Erica. Because who is Erica? And let me just say this. Whoever does the booking of guests down at Andy Cohen, / Watch What Happens Live, never bring back Leslie Bibb. I didn't even know who this lady was. I don't watch White Lotus, so I know a lot of people are like, well, that's why she's on there. She is annoying AF. When I tell you that lady does not know any boundaries, and if we were 10 minutes into this video, I would be cussing up a storm. Because when I tell you Garcelle kept her composure, and I was like, girl, I would have stopped and been like, girl, can you stay in your chair? Stay in your chair. Like, why are you over here with me? Like, why? Like, when she told Garcelle, that's not nice. Who are you? And like Garcelle says, she'll be fine. And then the next clip I'm going to play for you guys is when Garcelle responds to how she felt about Sutton's wallet comment to Dorit. Leslie got in her personal space and was like, well, why didn't you say anything when it happened? Girl, are you Dorit? Shut up. Gosh, she's annoying. But let me play that clip for y'all.
Carter G wants to know your reaction to watching Bose actually call Dorit out tonight for not accepting Sutton's apology.
I thought that was great.
Yes.
I thought that was great.
TKP619 said it didn't seem like Sutton's bigger pocketbook insult phased you at all, did it?
Yes.
At the Cavalier Castle?
Yeah.
No, girl, back up.
Right.
What happened?
It did?
It did.
Okay.
Because I was like, whoa. Like,
Yeah.
that's too far.
Okay.
Yeah.
We
why
still have
didn't
no idea.
Oh my God, who are you, Dorit?
Yeah. We still.
So I don't understand why anybody would think that Garcelle would need to defend Dorit in that moment. Like, I saw a lot of people online being like, well, Garcelle should have spoken up at the table. Why would she? Sutton is her friend. I'm not going to reprimand my friend in front of a group of women that I know don't like her. And Garcelle and Dorit hardly see it for each other. They're trying to get on the right path. So I don't know what y'all expected. But the last thing I'm going to say about this, again, Garcelle is better than me because I would have told Leslie, stay in your seat before I sit you in your seat. I understand you are excited to be here just like I am, but you're in my personal space and I'm getting tired of you cutting me off or interjecting when I'm trying to complete a thought. Like, that lady was so obnoxiously annoying. And people were saying, and like I said, I don't watch White Lotus. People were saying that the character that she plays on White Lotus is how she was behaving on Watch What Happens Live, just worse. And I was like, golly. Some people said that they thought she was probably drunk. I said, no, girl, it's giving she on something like an upper or something, because she was doing entirely too much. Had her hand in Garcelle's face. Like, I was so irritated. And I wasn't even there. Part of the spicy corner, let's talk about the after show. So Erica said this, I don't have the video clip, but she said Sutton can dish it out, but she can't take it. So Sutton responded by saying, coming from a woman who lived through all the burn victims' money, like basically saying, you're talking about I don't support women, but did you support the widows and the children and the orphans that your husband stole from? And I said, ooh, girl. That's a response. That's definitely a response. So the clips I do have is about Sutton and Garcelle. Now, you know, Garcelle this episode was not happy about Sutton not backing her up, and they kind of had a intense exchange on the after show, and I want to play it and talk about it.
Of what's going on in Cal's life, because there's so much, and honestly, it's true.
I'm not saying it's not true. I just think it's honestly. Because I think we've talked about that. We've talked about her on camera when she's not around. And then here we are at this table, and you're not backing me up.
If I'm going to be completely honest, I think what's confusing to me is that I feel like we tiptoe around Morgan.
One day, maybe I'll have a great story to share with you guys. Maybe I will not deal, maybe I don't.
I hope you do.
Well,
I hope you have a great story to tell. I hope you have a great story to tell.
You know, it'd be different if Garcelle said something and then Kyle was like, you're right, I should blah, 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 and then had gotten into the conversation, and then Sutton would have also then jumped in. That's different.
Yep.
But if Garcelle is challenging and then Kyle just is, I'm not giving you anything, and then Sutton doesn't even add on to it, then Garcelle looks crazy.
Yeah.
I wish you would have said something so that I'm not the only one asking all the questions.
And I will always speak up for myself. It had been a very long day. I had just dealt with that person, tired. I may have zoned out, Yeah. And I'm sorry that you feel that way. I really am. But you're talking about a picture in a magazine, right?
A lot of pictures. Just the scenario, the narrative of is she not, is she not? And she doesn't have to tell me if she is or she not. But can we talk about it? Can we not? Are we not supposed? We're supposed to act like we don't see it.
But I wasn't understanding. I'm dealing with Dorit, which is a lot. And I'm like, just leave Kyle alone.
You could have backed me up and then came to the room and said, leave Kyle alone.
Garcelle knows
It would be
how Sutton
frustrating.
feels.
Yeah.
And so if Garcelle knows how Sutton feels, and then at the table, Sutton isn't saying anything, then I can understand why Garcelle would be frustrated.
Me too. She's kind of leaving
She's
Garcelle.
like, I'm out here by myself.
Yeah.
Now I'm over here challenging her, and you sitting here, you had something to say yesterday.
Yes,
And now you don't have
exactly.
anything to say. You had something to say yesterday.
Yes,
And now you don't have
exactly.
anything to say now.
Well, we all compartmentalize parts of our lives.
What
We all do
what
that.
do you compartmentalize?
There's lots that I compartmentalize. We all do that.
You're doing it again.
Well, no, I'm talking about myself. And we don't, just because we're on a reality show doesn't mean that we have to expose, our toe fungus. What I heard you say just now, I understand your point of view.
I just think if the tables were turned and it was us, this group would not let it fly.
I think you just made an excellent point.
Oh, do tell. Where? Tell me.
I don't know, I just got mesmerized by Jennifer's bosoms bouncing.
My makeup artist goes, can you
can't
laugh
stop
when you're
looking.
on camera? And I went like this. You know what? My bra is a little bit, and then the dress is a little
Give her
tight. And then
some.
they had a body mic. So there's not room in there for my bosoms. They're looking for somewhere to go. They're like...
So the reason why I brought this up is a lot of people feel like this is foreshadowing the beginning of the end of Garcelle and Sutton's relationship, or possible tension that we might see play out at the reunion or next season, especially at the end when Sutton kind of changed the conversation to talk about Jennifer Tilly's boobies, which are very mesmerizing. But I don't know. I don't feel like their relationship is over, but I definitely think that it will change now that Garcelle has voiced her opinions about feeling like Sutton didn't have her back. And at this point, the ball is in Sutton's court. She has to be the one that starts to prove to Garcelle, no, I have your back. Every time you've had my back, I'm going to show you I have your back. But I don't know. I hope their friendship isn't over, but a lot of people are like, no, this is the foreshadowing of the end of Garcelle and Sutton's relationship, friendship, or alliance. But let's get into the review. Episode opens up, y'all, and we see the ladies getting ready for an all-white themed dinner. It is something about Black people in all-white themes. It doesn't matter if we're on vacation, if we're on a cruise, if we're here in the States, we gonna have an all-white themed dinner or an all-white themed party. I don't know what it is. So we see everybody go to Bo's, Dorit, and Erica's villa. The girls are excited to go to dinner. We then see Kyle and Kathy get there last, and we find out that Garcelle and Kyle have on the same outfit, and everybody's screaming. Kyle ends up being like, oh my gosh, this is what happened between me and Lisa Rinna. They both looked really nice in the outfit. And so Garcelle ends up saying that, like, I have to take back my words of when I said that Kyle has hideous style. And I said, Garcelle, you are slightly a step above Giselle Bryant and Ashley Darby. And mind you, I think Ashley Darby is a worse dresser than Giselle. At least Giselle tries. Ashley just thinks because she is skinny and has big titties, she could just be naked all the time. Just don't put no effort into her outfits. It just be titties. And that's it, you know? So I was like, you can't talk about nobody's style. And I like you, Garcelle, but you can't talk about nobody's style. So they have a good laugh out of that. They do like runway walks and everyone's having a good time. So then they go to dinner. Really nice setup. The girls are talking. And then we find out that Bo's has a outdoor shower. And she offered to allow Erica and Dorit to use the shower if they want to. Just let her know and she'll step out of the room. And Dorit tells Bose that, like, she don't like getting naked in front of people. She don't even like being naked in front of her husband. And Bose is like, you don't like to be naked in front of your husband? And I said, girl, yeah, like, I was like, did PK say something about your body one time? Like, are you insecure in general? Because I'm like, you had 2 kids for the man. Like, he's seen babies come out your coochie. Like, what do you mean you don't like getting naked in front of your husband? She was just like, I don't like to do it. And I said, okay, that's weird. And then Jennifer Tilly ends up telling the story about how the guy she was dating, she had sex with him and everything. She realized after doing a Broadway show that she invited him to, where she had a full frontal nudity scene, that he had never seen her naked in light. That she would always, run to the bedroom, dim the lights down, and try to look very sexy for him, and then usher him into the room, or tell him to come into the room, and then they would do it. But he had never seen her body, like, in the light because she had a full frontal nudity scene on Broadway, and she was standing up out of a tub and with bubbles, and he freaked out and ran to the back of the stage to let her know, like, girl, everybody saw you. And I'm like, girl, he never seen you naked in the daytime. I was like, y'all are weird. Y'all are weird. Because if I commit to sleeping with you, you gonna see all of this in the morning, at night, at dawn, in the evening. Like, what you mean? And honestly, outdoor showers never appeal to me. They just never do. Because I just think about, like, a mosquito biting me while I'm washing up my body. Like, I would hate to, like, after washing up, like, step outside the shower, like, towel dry myself off, and then it's like a row of mosquito bites, like, on my arm, on my titty, on my booty. Like, they just don't appeal to me. And then I think about, like, I like taking very, like, hot showers, like, to the point where they kind of feel like they burn a little bit. And taking a hot shower in a humid environment, because it is a tropical environment, are you really getting clean? I just don't feel like that'd be, like, relaxing, I don't know. Maybe if I get the opportunity to, maybe it will, like, change my mindset, but, like, as it stays right now, the outdoor showers never appeal to your girl, okay? So they all laugh about that. And then here comes Dorit messing up the energy, because she ends up saying how to Sutton, in all seriousness, I just feel like in the past couple of months, you've been pretty mean-spirited towards me. Dorit, I'm like, girl, why couldn't you wait to do this, like, the next day? Y'all just got here. Why not have one day where y'all not beefing? Just one day where y'all not beefing. And so Sutton kind of looks at her like, girl, so what you getting at? what are we getting at? And so she's like, you know, you did that whole thing at the table when we were in Oceanside talking about sisterhood and talking about how you want people to be able to come to each other when they have issues, but I don't think you've been very open to doing that or holding up your part of the bargain. And so Sutton ends up saying, I feel at some point we all have failed each other. And that is a true statement. Like, they act like they've really been there for Sutton when they haven't. Like, she tries, but she always does do something that puts her foot in her mouth, but we've never seen the women extend themselves to her. So Sutton just is like, it's not just me. So then Jennifer Tilly and Kyle chime in, because Kyle kind of like backs up what Jennifer says, because Jennifer is like, well, I think Sutton really did mean that she wanted this to be a sisterhood when she did what she did in Oceanside. Like, I think she really meant that when she did it. And Kyle said, yeah, I think she meant it too. And so then Erica chimes in basically saying, pretty much, like, I can get why Dorit is confused. Like, Sutton, sometimes your actions are confusing. Like, one minute you'll do something or you'll say something, but you do the opposite in the next couple of hours or the next day. And so Sutton gets defensive, and she's like, what we not about to do is put me on trial. That's what we not about to do. And so Dorit ends up saying, like, Sutton, you can't always become a victim when we question you. Like, at some point you have to take accountability for what you have done. And so then Sutton tells Dorit, girl, don't tell me what to do. Don't tell me what I can and cannot do, Dorit. Don't do it. Don't do it. And I'd be the same way. I'd be like, girl, don't tell me what to do. Especially if I don't like you. I'd have told you, girl, shut up and don't tell me what to do. Hold your mouth. Keep it closed. Table, like, girl, here we go. Here she go. Like, we can't have one night where the girl's not fighting. And so Garcelle is like, Dorit takes accountability one time, and now all of a sudden she the accountability police. Okay, girl, don't make me laugh like Jennifer Tilly. Ha 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 ha. And so Sutton ends up saying, you're right. Like, I apologize for what I said at the Caviar Caspa. You know, it didn't even feel like myself. I am sorry for what I said to you. And so Dorit kind of looks at her like, are you really sorry? And you see Garcelle and Bose at the end of the table like, girl, she apologizing. Like, what you mean? And so Erica ends up saying, like, it was beneath you, like what you said. And so Sutton says, you're right, it was beneath me, and for that I am truly sorry, you know. And so Sutton is in her confessional. I'm saying, like, girl, I'm trying to apologize to you, Dorit, for calling you brokey, and you not trying to hear it, because clearly that's what you want. And so, like I said, again, Sutton says, you know, I am very sorry for what I said. So then Bose ends up saying, Dorit, you're not even taking in what she's saying. Like, she's apologizing to you. And so then Erica says in her confessional, I can understand why Dorit is weary of Sutton's apology, because Sutton does a lot of things and then apologizes for it, and then she repeats doing those things. And I said, Erica, you've done the same. All of y'all have done the same. I think that's why this argument is starting to become hypocritical and kind of stale to me, is because they all do what Sutton does. Well, they'll say something, it will be hurtful, and then they'll walk it back and apologize for it and then reiterate the same behavior. And they show flashbacks of Erica apologizing to Sutton and then gleefully saying on the reunion, that's me playing your ass. So, like, who are you to critique anybody's apology or think they're not being sincere when you've already shown that you're not a sincere person yourself, Erica? So Bose tries to kind of like smooth over the situation by saying, well, she apologized to you, Dorit. Is there anything that you can take accountability for? And so they talk about the drinking comment. And so Dorit ends up saying, well, you know, the drinking joke, and Sutton is like, it wasn't a joke. And she's like, okay, the drinking comment. She said, I would have immediately apologized to you and said, Sutton, I'm sorry, if you would not have called me a bitch in my home. And everyone's like, girl, that's cap. Everybody at the table is like, okay, girl. And you could even tell that Dorit was taken aback that Bose kept calling her out or was making mention that, like, girl, calling her out. Because she was like, of course, because I think somebody was like, would you have really apologized? And she's like, of course. And I was just like, ooh. So they kind of like, deaded the conversation. They both got apologies for, I guess, what they wanted. And then Bo says, okay, it looks like we are building. Hopefully we have laid the foundation for y'all to like start building a new relationship. And then Kathy ends up saying, girl, we've only been here for one day and the trip is still going on. Like, it could definitely get worse. And I said, Kathy, not wrong. Shifts. And Kyle ends up thanking Bose for coming by her house and checking up on her. They show a flashback of Bose basically saying, look, if we are friends, I will ride for you. I will fight for you. You know, I'll go to war for you. And so Kyle also is like, yeah, I appreciate, like, you know, you doing that for me. And then Bose ends up saying, and what's crazy is what happened next after I left. So what we find out is that after, like a few days after that sit down that Bose and Kyle had, Bose actually saw Mauricio at some restaurant with, I think, the same girl in Soho, and she sent a like 4-minute voicemail to Kyle about the situation. We actually hear her play it in the confessional where she's like, girl, she not even cuter than you. Like, if you gonna step out, you gotta step out with somebody who gonna be better than the last one, and she not that. She was like, girl, I want to push both of them into, you know, the pond that's here. And I was like, you doing a lot of posturing. Something about Bose that kind of like me is it feels like sometimes she gets too familiar with people and she doesn't know the whole story. Like, girl, you don't even know this lady to be doing all of that, in my opinion. And I'm not saying like she's wrong, because I've done it. I've been on the phone. I've seen my friends' exes and been like, girl, she ain't you. But I've been friends with these people for like 4 or 5 years, where it's like you just went from saying that this lady is cold to now, girl, she not you, she not better than you. And it also kind of is like, girl, why you doing all of this? Like, and why would you send me a voice note about this when you know you just saw me cry to you at my house? If anything, I would just feel like she should just like, I would have just been like, a picture is enough for me. A picture is enough for me, and a cute little like, girl, she ugly, she ain't no you text message. But a 4-minute voice note, I'd be like, girl, this is overkill. So everyone at the table is like, oh my gosh, like, for real? And Kyle's like, yeah, I think Kathy is like, so he was out with a female? And then Kyle's like, yeah, a girl. And then Garcelle says in her confessional, it doesn't sound like this is some random girl. This definitely sounds like this is somebody like that is his girl. Like, he is actively dating this person. Like, they were in Greece and now they're in Malibu. And so Garcelle ends up saying, like, you know, I'm glad that you have all of us here, but it is kind of hard to support you when we don't truly know what's going on. Like, we can't really talk about Morgan, but we can talk about Mauricio. I think that's a problem. And so Kyle makes this face with her mouth where she's like, you really want to go there with me? And I said, ooh, Garcelle. And so they show flashbacks of when she tattooed Morgan and everything. And I said, see, Kyle, this is your fault. So she tattooing Morgan. Morgan's being like, who can say they got tattooed by Kyle Richards? And you put a K on her body. And so Erica's in her confessional saying, Garcelle wants to be in everybody else's business, but we don't know much of anything about Garcelle's like private love life, like other than like who she was with in the 90s. Like, she had a roster in the 90s, but maybe she peaked then, like, because right now it don't seem like she got nothing going on. And when I tell you, Erica's saying that maybe Garcelle peaked irritated me so badly. It irritated me so badly because if we're being honest, Erica, your peak was several years ago. If we're talking about love life or a career, Garcelle outpaces Erica easily. Erica, all you are known for is maybe 4 or 5 like little bop records here or there. You're not a true artist because you've never sat down and taken the time to actively create an album. Okay, you're lucky people still care about you to a certain extent that they allow you to be on Broadway doing Chicago, but clearly you're not that good at it, or you're not making any real big moves, because we have yet to hear anything about you. When Adriana and Lisa Rinna was on Broadway, when Nene Leakes and Candy Burrs was on Broadway, we heard about their performances. We saw clips of their performances. I ain't seen nobody show anything about Erica. Nothing. Nothing. So clearly you're not making no type of moves out there, okay? On top of that, if we start looking like, and let me stay right here. You haven't even used this platform correctly, because if you're supposed to be Miss Erica Jane, my name was after like a Hollywood starlet of the 80s or the 70s. Why have you not garnered any TV like pop-ins? Like you're not featured on any TV shows, any Netflix specials, anything on Lifetime. They had that Real Housewives movie with half the roster of the Real Housewives franchises. You were nowhere to be found. Lisa Barlow was in there before you, and you've been in the game way longer than her. But you're supposed to be somebody. Now let's move over to your love life. Girl, your Mount Everest is an old funky bastard who is known for stealing from burn victims, orphans, and widows, and other people who have been accosted by large corporations. That is your Mount Everest. And you are still bitter at the fact that you didn't get out of that relationship when you could have. You didn't get out the relationship at the right time where you could have got some of that victim money to live your life. And you could have locked it down where they couldn't take it from you. You are still mad about that, because if we're going to compare you and Garcelle can still afford her lifestyle. It may not be as grand as some of the ladies in this group, but she was able to build a beach house by herself. She is paying on a beach house and a house for her kids to live in right about now. Right now. What do you do? Because the word on the street is the man that's paying for that house that you stay in, that you hate so much, lives in Las Vegas, and that's your new sugar daddy, allegedly. So you still can't take care of yourself, but you're coming at someone that can, someone that has been in movies since the 80s and the 90s, someone that I've known since I was in elementary school. Like when I saw that she was going to be a part of this cast, I called that lady fancy because I remember watching reruns of the Jamie Foxx show. But she peaked. Her peak, she hasn't even met her peak. Like she said on Watch What Happens Live, I married for love, not for money. It's clear as day you married Tom for survival, because he looked just as old then where he looks like now. He looked decrepit and old. He looked like Mr. Burns off of The Simpsons. And you still slid up in them. You was over there making, like the diva says, Viagra smoothies, tugging and pulling and bopping it, trying to get something out of that. It's clear as day you married that man for survival. Garcelle married her man for love because she could take care of herself. You couldn't. Again, your Mount Everest, your peak was an old funky bastard. The nerve of that lady gonna say somebody peaked and you ain't got to show for yourself. Ooh! And I was like, I like Garcelle. I'm not a Garcelle stan. I'm a fan of hers at times, but I be good God. You know what? For anybody on this cast that ever, especially Erica, to tell somebody that they peak and she ain't got for what she been through, that's what pisses her off. That is what pisses her off. That she was over there tugging and pulling, bopping it, rubbing on that wrinkly, pasty, wet skin, rubbing on that bald head like a genie, and she ain't got nothing to show for it other than a 3-bedroom house with a nice cabana and a pool. That's it. That's all. Going back to the table, because I had to get that out. So going back to the table, Kyle is getting irritated because she's like, I was at a concert I got asked to go to. Like, it was already planned. I didn't account for the paparazzi to be there. So then Jennifer Tilly is in her confessional being like, we can definitely tell that Kyle likes to play this game with the paparazzi. She likes the back and forth. Dorit ends up saying, like, Kyle has been in this town for a long time. She knows how this works. And then even Garcelle said, well, girl, Jennifer Lawrence can be out and about and not get flagged by the paparazzi, but you can't. And so they all know that Kyle's playing the game. So then Kyle basically says, like, I don't have a story to tell. Maybe I will one day, but I don't have anything. And then Kathy ends up saying, well, maybe there's nothing there. And she's like, she was like, maybe I don't have a story to tell. And then Sutton is like, I hope you do have a great story to tell soon. That pisses off Garcelle because she's like, it's infuriating to see how Sutton is just basking in Kyle's light, so happy to be around her and in her good graces. And normally I don't have a problem with it, but I do have a problem with it when it starts to affect our friendship. And right now, you left me out to dry when clearly me and you have had conversations about Morgan and Mauricio. Why not back me up on this? So Garcelle is getting irritated. So then Bose ends up letting them know we're going on the catamaran tomorrow. So everybody be sure to be ready by 9:30. So then Kathy ends up saying, well, that means 10 for me. I said, girl, and get left on the dock. Because if I tell you to be there at 9:30, be ready at 9:30. Okay, I don't care if you Kathy Hilton or not. I said be ready at 9:30, be ready at 9:30. So then Bose bumps up the time to 9 o'clock, so she knew that everybody wasn't going to be late. Things we see is everybody getting ready to go to bed. We see Kathy being rude to her brand manager. The lady ends up calling Kathy, and Kathy's like, can you give me a minute? I need to change my clothes. Kathy does everything but change. She putting on face masks. She taking, I don't know, Miralax, popping vitamin pills or something, and doing everything else but changing. And the lady's like, hello, Kathy? I would have hung up. I was like, girl, that's rude. Like, if you didn't want to speak to her, then don't pick up the phone. I'm good for not picking up the phone if I'm not in the mood to talk to nobody. So then we go to the villa with Erica ripping out her tracks the same way Kathy did at Sutton Surrealist party. And then Bose and Dorit. Bose is acknowledging this is the second time I've seen a white lady do this. So while they're sitting down, Dorit ends up saying that she understands that what the intentions of the dinner was supposed to be, and that she gets that, you know, what Sutton was trying to say, but she really doesn't feel like Sutton's apology is sincere, pretty much. And Bose is like, I get what you're saying. However, she did apologize. We did see her say, I'm sorry, you know? And Dorit is like, I love Bose, but I love the fact that she sees the good in everybody. But the only reason Sutton apologized to me is because she knows that comment made her look bad. And I don't disagree, even though I would have stood in it, you know? Sutton, we now know Sutton has low self-esteem and she wants to be liked by people. She gets validation out of people liking her. And if everybody at that table would have went up for that comment, she definitely would not be walking it back, because she was doubling down in the confessional, then tripling down, you know, on the after show. But then on Watch What Happens Live, she walked it back, and now you're apologizing. It feels as though Sutton is starting to realize maybe she went too far. And now she's trying to take it back because the people that she wants to impress and the people that she wants to like her were offended and grossed out by that comment. But I think she also doesn't like Dorit and really wants to stand in it, but her overwhelming need to be liked is taking over pretty much. Because I would not apologize for it. I'd been like, girl, I meant what I said, and it is what it is. Y'all can hate what I said. Y'all can think it was distasteful. It was nasty, but I don't like her. She's trying to insinuate that I'm an alcoholic, that I mix my pills, like her little friend over here who openly admitted that she mixed pills and alcohols together. Y'all can say that I'm a drunk, but you ain't never seen me cuss out a 14-year-old. Okay. Let's move on. So, they get back to the conversation, and Bose is constantly reiterating that, girl, you couldn't even acknowledge the apology. Isn't that important that she did apologize? And Dorit was like, I did acknowledge it. And Bose is like, no, you didn't, Dorit. You kept going at that lady. Like, you kept going back and forth with her. And you could tell that Dorit was taken aback that Bose was holding her feet to the fire, because she had the same look when Bose was like, Dorit, she's apologizing to you at the dinner table. And then she has the same facial expressions here in the villa. And I said, like, I'm not going to lie. I was actually surprised that Bose called out Dorit. And I was like, you wait all the way till the 15th episode or the 16th episode to start holding your friend accountable for her her bad behavior. Interesting. But I'm glad she said something, because it's like, clearly you wanted an apology and you got it, but you're not accepting it. That's weird. That's definitely weird. On top of that, you could tell that Dorit wanted to say something to Bose, because she kind of looked at her after her eyes stopped being bugged out, like, I want to say something, but she knew she couldn't, because it's like, Bose is the only person that, like, my strongest ally. So let me keep it cute with her. So it's going to be interesting next season if there is a situation where Bose and Dorit go back and forth. I wonder if Dorit's going to hold back, or if she's really going to give Bose like the energy that she gives Sutton and Garcelle and them, or Kyle when she pissed off, or Erica when because her and Erica really didn't like each other when they first met. So Bose basically just ends up saying that, like, Dorit has an issue and a challenge with accepting apologies and giving them out. Dorit ends up saying that, words mean things and I need to see more actions from Sutton. And then Bose ends up saying, well, what else? Like, that's not really a solution to the problem. Like, you're not really giving us, like, things that we can go on to create a solution. So we then get this scene with the rest of the ladies. So Garcelle, Sutton, and Jennifer Tilly. What this boils down to is Garcelle is frustrated with Sutton for not having her back at the table and chiming in when she was questioning Kyle about Morgan. And before the conversation got started to that point, Sutton basically ends up being so gleeful, and it was so gross and cringy. And I said, ooh, girl. Where she was just like, I'm so happy that Kyle stood up for me and defended me in that moment. Like, and they flash back to when Kyle basically tells Dorit, like, that she was going to take that joke or the comment wrong because it's sensitive between y'all because of what happened last year. Like, anybody else could probably say something, but not you. And you then see Sutton be like, thank you, Kyle. I really appreciate that. Thank you. So then you see Sutton in the confessional being like, now everybody knows that we're friends. I knew we were friends. And I said, ooh, girl, at your big age. Ends up saying, so what do we say when Kyle says, we can ask her certain things, but she doesn't want to engage on anything? And here's the thing, Garcelle. I get you saying that you felt some type of way that Sutton didn't have your back, but what was Sutton going to say? The lady has already told y'all she not going to give y'all much of nothing when it comes to the Morgan situation, and you keep going there with her. And you clearly can tell that Sutton wants to maintain a good relationship with the lady. The first time y'all talked about it, Sutton was like, I want to respect her privacy because they're in a good place. And she wants to be in a good place with her, but you're trying to force her hand at this point. And it's like the lady has told you she wants to leave it alone. She said, I'm going to leave it alone because Sutton ends up saying, well, I talked to Kyle and she basically, I understand why she don't want to talk about it anymore, basically. And Garcelle says, you saying all of this, but last year you were the one constantly badgering her about what was going on in her life. And Sutton is like, yes, I definitely was, because I thought she was making a lot of dramatic changes. But once we talked, I decided I'm going to just back off on it. So then Garcelle basically tells Sutton, you are blindfolded by her. Like, you put your cape on, you do all this stuff. And then I felt bad because when she got up to storm off, she hit her foot and she was like, damn, that hurt. And she says, you always, I understand you're going to protect her. You're going to keep her safe. And, Sutton was like, I'm not protecting her. I'm not trying to keep her safe. And Garcelle's like, yes, you are. It's like, that's where your loyalty lies. And Sutton is like, no, like, I'm not trying to protect her. And pretty much Garcelle says, her and I have spoken numerous times about Kyle and Morgan, and now you gonna leave me out to dry at the table. Now I look like a jerk. Well, no, girl, you have to take ownership of that, Garcelle. Your friend don't want to rock the boat with this lady. You also know that lady don't want to give y'all no information. So you have to accept that, like, girl, you made yourself look like a jerk. You should have known your friend wasn't going to jump out there. But I do agree that there has been times where Garcelle is stuck in her neck out there for Sutton, and it hasn't been reciprocated. So pretty much Garcelle says, I see you, Sutton. I understand it. I get it. So Garcelle goes to her room, shuts the door. Jennifer Tilly tries to console Sutton, and Sutton's like, I'm gonna be all right. I need a minute right now. Can I be alone right now? Because you can clearly tell that Sutton does care about Garcelle and her opinion of her, but her overwhelming need to have Kyle's love and affection supersedes that. So then we get this cute scene of Jennifer Tilly getting ready for the next day festivities. And she's just so cool to me. And so, like, quirky, but in a cute way. Finding out that her and Kathy are the same age is crazy. Because I think Jennifer Tilly is 66, looking that good with the bosoms. And Kathy, I thought Kathy was in her 70s. And I'm like middle, like late 70s. And to come to find out, girl, you 66, you and this lady are the same age. Girl, like someone said, Asians don't raisins and black don't crack, because that's a good looking 66 right there, okay? So we see the girls getting ready. They're going on the catamaran. We see, like, it was funny seeing everybody with their personal assistants. Avi trying to make coffee for Sutton. And he was like, I asked for coffee like an hour ago. I'm about to make it in this. And she was like, I ain't gonna like that. He was like, okay, girl. So then you see Sutton say, I'm gonna go wake up Garcelle. Pray for me. Pray for me. So she goes to Garcelle's room. She was like, hey, do you want to go eat outside? And they sit down, and Garcelle apologizes for her behavior the night before. She basically says that she was frustrated, and you could tell that Sutton really felt some type of way about Garcelle walking off. She also basically says, like, I understand where you're coming from. It's just that, like, at this point, if she not going to give us no information, I don't want to keep badgering the lady about what's going on in her life. And so then Sutton is like, I can't believe we had our first fight. And Garcelle said, no, but she was like, and then Sutton says, no, this is like our really, like a real first fight for us. And so they flash back to that night. And then she says, you know, it's just like the Kyle situation is just frustrating for Garcelle, because it's like she wants to be close to Kyle, but how do you be close with somebody who won't be honest about their life? Pretty much lending to what Bose said in what I talked about in the spicy corner, saying that Kyle is a liar. And it's kind of is like, yeah, girl, you're lying by omission. Even though it's out, and I think that's the part that's annoying to everybody, is that it's out there, but you not, like, when we ask you about it, you don't know what's going on. That's frustrating. that is frustrating. So they then talk about Mauricio again, and about Bose seeing Mauricio at the restaurant and everything. And what was crazy is that Sutton is like, I heard tea about that too. And Garcelle said, girl, for real? And she's like, yeah, like, he's actively dating. Like, Mauricio is actually active out here, single and mingling, and Kyle needs to do the same. She needs to do the same. Everybody is getting ready, putting on their swimsuits. I thought it was so cute seeing people take, like, their vacation pictures. Now, Garcelle and Jennifer Tilly were taking thirst traps. Jennifer topless in the pool, posting pictures on Instagram. Garcelle is topless on the beach with a booty out. I said, Garcelle, Jennifer. What we doing? They look good, though. But I thought that was so funny to me. I said, everybody else is taking holiday photos, like vacation pictures. Y'all out here taking legit thirst traps. But they said they was going to do thirst traps. So we see everybody go to Kyle and Kathy's villa to pick them up, because they're the last one on the stop to walk to the catamaran. Bose's body, amazing. Titties are sitting, abs, you know. I will say, when I hit 48, I hope I look like that, okay? I'm working on it right now, all right? The only thing is, I hate her hair. I do. I liked her hair at the dinner with the crown on her head. But this hair with the bamboo beauty supply earrings in, it doesn't make sense. Girl, you getting on a boat. You supposed to be jumping in the ocean. Why do we got bamboo earrings in our hair? And mind you, I feel like this would be a great hairstyle on, like, to wear, like, at the club or at a concert, definitely at a concert or at a festival. I could definitely see one of the girls on RuPaul's Drag Race doing this for a theme, if they had a theme. But I was just like, girl, but we getting on the catamaran. Like, do you plan on getting in the ocean? And if so, are you going to take the bamboo earrings out? Because I would hate for a turtle to eat it and choke. Like, I was just like, it just didn't make sense. Like, I'm trying my best with Bose and her hair, but it just don't. Like, I know a lot of people like it because it's different. But my thing about it is, if this was on any other black woman, we would all be like, girl, why are your wigs so thick? She be having too many bundles in her hair. And I don't know how you make braids look heavy. Like, no, I do know how you make braids look heavy, but it just looks like a lot of braids in her head. And I'm just like, I don't know if you needed all of that, ma'am. I don't know if you needed that. So they get on the catamaran. Everybody's super excited. We see this interaction between Sutton and Erica, where they're being actually really nice to each other, talking about their body size. Sutton weighs 111. What's her name? Erica weighs between 128 and 130. And then they get on the boat and everyone's admiring Jennifer Tilly's earrings. And we find out that they're one of a kind. They're Dolce & Gabbana. And when she was talking about it, she was like, ooh, that sounds kind of like obnoxious. And they're like, no, it just sounds rich. I said, come on. And so one of the staff hands lets them know that they made food for them. So the ladies are getting the food. Jennifer Tilly hands Kathy a plate and a fork. A customary thing to do. Then all of a sudden, Kathy starts telling Jennifer Tilly, like, can you get this? Can you give me that, dear? Can you give me this, dear? And everyone's kind of like, girl. And Kyle's like, Kathy doesn't care who you are, even if you're an Oscar-nominated actress. If you're close enough, she'll ask you to get it. Jennifer Tilly is like, I don't think this lady knows who I am. She know who you are. She just don't care. Then Sutton says Kathy is definitely trying to establish a hierarchy with her at the top. And I was just kind of like, girl, I would have told that lady, girl, I'm not your, I don't work here. No. Get your own shit. like, no. So we then have this scene as the boat is going. Kyla's sitting at the front of the boat, like sunbathing, and then Dorit goes to sit with her and they talk. Dorit asks her about about Kim, saying like, it's been a long time since I've seen all three of y'all together. And Kyle basically admits that her and Kim haven't seen each other, but they've kind of talked very like sparingly. If you don't know, it's a lot of stuff going on with Kim. Like, it's not good. I don't know if she has relapsed or if she's actually having like some mental like illness challenges, but I know she got kicked out of a hotel like during the summer, and then something else happened, and I was just like, so I don't know. I hope that's not their storyline next season, dealing with Kim and the things that, because it's just like, I love me some Kim Richards, and I would hate to see her back where she used to be, you know? So I'm just like, ooh, girl, let's leave that alone. So then we have this moment where Sutton brings it up where she says, I want to acknowledge that I sincerely meant what I said the night before, apologizing for my comments. So then Erica says, you know, I've noticed that you can be very critical and very harsh and kick women when they're down or when they're at their lowest in their lives. And so Sutton is like, girl, what? And they basically do a flashback to when Erica basically lied to us about that man getting into a car accident and it's snowing in Pasadena somewhere, and Sutton confronting her about it. And then when Sutton was asking Kyle about her marriage and, it's about the ring and all of that stuff. And then when she told Dorit, you're not mad at me, you're mad at your life. And so Sutton is kind of taken back where she says, oftentimes you pose as a friend and you work as an enemy. And she's also like, Erica's in her confessional being like, I'm tired of the fake apologies. I'm tired of the fake sisterhood. Like, I'm just over Sutton and all of the things. And so Sutton is like, girl, I do not kick women at their lowest. And that's a lot coming from you, especially when who you are married to and the way that you behave. Because I haven't forgot you saying, I don't care about nobody but me.
We're talking about people that are in front of you, and that's me. And you know what? Because someone said something does not make it true. All I think about are victims. I don't give a about anybody else but me.
Didn't you say that? You definitely said that. And those women were at their lowest. All right, okay. So then Sutton starts to play semantics. They start arguing back and forth where Sutton says, clearly you're still upset about me questioning you, and that's your problem, not mine. I offered to help you and be there for you. And then Erica's like, but you also tried to say that I lied about not knowing about the $2 million in the bank account. And she's like, well, she was like, it was something in the LA Times. Everybody was reading, girl, it was global news. So then Erica and her start going back and forth about semantics, about you saying women when clearly we know Erica meant this group. And so Sutton is like, I knew the other shoe was going to drop. Like, I knew the other shoe was going to drop, and I shouldn't have trusted her because unlike Erica, I do mean my apology. She ends up saying, like, you're the one who did the same thing to me where you apologized to me, and they actually show Erica apologizing. And then at the reunion, basically saying that I know I played your ass. It's called playing your ass because Sutton was like, you were very mean to me, but then you apologized to me. So it's like, it's hard for me to root for them going at Sutton when it's like everybody here is hypocritical. All of y'all are hypocrites. All of y'all are hypocrites. So then Dorit and Kyle come and sit down. Dorit's in the amen section saying that Sutton is like that. And then Kyle is like, clearly, Sutton, she doesn't mean all the women in the world. She definitely means the women in this group. And then Garcelle's in her confessional being like, Sutton wants Kyle to have her back, and Kyle doesn't have her back. Clearly, she's showing you that she doesn't have your back. So then Sutton gets worked up, and she's like, girl, what the F do y'all want from me? What the F do y'all want from me at this point? Like, what do y'all want? Like, what do you want? And everyone's like, oh, okay. She was like, this is not about to be Sutton at trial. Y'all are not about to all, like, railroad me and try to pay me out to be this horrible person when I've been there for people. And so she was like, because then Dorit starts to say something, and Sutton is like, I sincerely apologize to you. And I love you. She pointed to Kyle, and then she was like, and I apologize to you. And I thought we were moving forward. So she's like, I don't understand what y'all want from me. Chimes in, and she's like, because Sutton ends up saying, pick on somebody else. And Dorit's like, we're not picking on you. And she's like, come on, Dorit, y'all henpeck me all the time. So then Dorit is like, well, can you speak English? And then Sutton breaks out in a British accent where she was like, would it be proper for me to speak like this? And I said, ooh. I said, okay, Sutton. I said, you ate that one right there. Because Dorit didn't have anything to say. She was like, oh. I said, oh. And so she's like, will it work better for you if I speak that way? And so she was like, I sincerely apologize to you last night, and I mean everything I said. She was like, but then Dorit says, but you only apologize for Caviar Casper. And Sutton said, that's the only thing I'm apologizing for. That's the only thing I'm sorry for. So then Dorit's like, there's nothing else. She was like, do you want to move forward or not? And Sutton's like, no, girl, I'm good. We could, I'm on ice with you. We can chill it right here. So then Dorit says, finally Sutton's actions and words mean the same thing. And she is finally showing us who she truly is. And this is why I don't feel bad for Dorit or Erica, because it's the hypocrisy. We've seen y'all be nasty as shit to this lady and other women who are not a part of Fox Force 5. And now all of a sudden, Sutton has always been the aggressor and the culprit. That's a lie. That's a lie. Like, I'm not saying Sutton is innocent. I'm not saying that she hasn't put her foot in her mouth and she hasn't stirred the pot or done people dirty, but she's not the only one. And it just makes this group hypocritical because it seems like the only person they keep wanting to hold accountable is Sutton. And I need Sutton to stop allowing them to bait her into freaking out. Because, girl, if I was her, I'd have been like, so explain to me what you want from me. Because, like, for real, like, what do y'all want? What do you want from me? Okay, now, we're here. I've apologized to both of y'all. If you bring this up again, you're reigniting the issue, not me. Because I keep apologizing, but I don't receive apologies from y'all. Because y'all have done me dirty, and y'all have backtracked on your apologies as well. And they showed a preview for next episode where they showed the montage of how this group has done Sutton and how Sutton has done them. And again, I'm not saying Sutton is a victim, but I'm not saying Sutton is the main problem. They've all have done things to each other, and we always see Sutton apologize. We rarely see them apologize to her and mean their apologies as well. So Bose talks about Sutton being angry and her not understanding why Sutton's so angry. So then Jennifer Tilly was like, oh my God, we on the boat to hell. So then Sutton is just like, I need a minute. She gets up and walks away. And Garcelle says, I hate seeing Sutton deal with this. And normally I would stick my neck out for her right here, but I'm not going to do it. Like, girl, you didn't do it for me, so you're going to have to deal with this. So then Kyle says Sutton always starts things and runs away like a victim. She's no victim. And then Erica says Sutton is just feeling a type of way because I struck a nerve and I'm telling the truth. And then, what's her name? Kathy says boat rides really don't work with this group. And then you see Sutton at the end of the episode saying, I hate these fucking bitches. Like, they're such, like, fucking assholes to me. And I was like, ooh, girl. I don't know. I honestly feel as though Erica is kicking up this mess with Sutton because she knows she doesn't have anything else to talk about when it comes time for the reunion other than this renovation and you arguing with Sutton at the end of the season. And really, when I bet you when we get to the reunion, is the focal point is going to be Dorit versus Sutton, Dorit versus Kyle, and they might slightly touch upon Erica adding in her 2 cents, but I don't think it's gonna help anyway. Like I don't think it's gonna give Erica what she wants by like being a staple at the reunion. I just think it's dumb that you waited all the way to the end of the season to have this issue with her when you were crying about not having a pizza party and they gave you a Chuck E. Cheese pizza party and you were okay, but now all of a sudden you had an issue. Yeah, okay, Erica. But yeah, y'all, that is it. That is all. And as always, remember to be bravely authentic. Definitely hop down in the comments below and subscribe and like the video. And I'm out, y'all. Deuces.